Have you ever been let down? Have you ever been disappointed? Has somebody ever made a promise with you or to you and man, you were really depending on them to keep their promise? Well, this morning, let's talk about consistency. Let's talk about consistency because if anything is lacking in the world right now, it's consistency. Good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna. Welcome to Morning Manna. I'm thankful and grateful to be a part of your morning this morning and that you are a part of my morning. And this morning, I want to press in and talk a little bit about consistency. In 5 minutes or less, I'm going to give you the text to talk and the takeaway. The text to talk and the takeaway. And this morning, it's all about consistency. Have you ever had your heart broken? Has someone ever disappointed you? Have you ever been told one thing and another thing happened? If that's been the case, put it in the chat area. Say, hey, yes, that's me. I raised my hand. Yeah, that has happened to me more than once. Well, what do you do about that? Here's the text, the talk, and the takeaway. The text is Hebrews 10:23. Let us hold resolutely to the hope we proclaim. For he who promised is faithful. For he who promised is faithful. If you were with us on our midweek morning prayer, that's what we prayed. And that's what's pressing in on my heart right now. And there's three things I want to share with you about consistency, in particular, God's consistency. Because I have found that man, woman, however you want to say it, can really, really rock your world if you're dependent on them to come through every time. Because they're not. I remember when I was growing up, and I used to hear sitting in the back of the church at Pentecostal Holiness Church in Goldsboro, North Carolina on Elm Street, and Bishop Majette and the choir, the number 3 choir would sing, and they were talking about how God is can do all things, and you can't depend on man. Well, I didn't understand it then. I understand it now, though. And there's 3 reasons why I really know that you don't have to depend on man. You can depend on the consistency of God. And the first thing is that he cares. He cares for us. It matters to God about our disposition and where we are and how we're feeling and what we're going through and what we're up against and what we're trying to get to. He said, I'll never have brought you to it if I wasn't going to bring you through it. So God cares. Be anxious for nothing, for he careth for us. In all things, with prayer and supplication, make your requests known. He cares. That's why he's consistent. Your heart broken is matters to him. So he cares where others may not. The second thing is this. God created us. So there is a responsibility for us. Anything that you create, anything that you make, you feel responsible for it. So God says, you know what? I created heaven and earth. I created everything that is in the earth. Everything that is made, I made it. And therefore, in order for it to go the way I want it to go, and I created it, I got to be consistent because God created us. The third thing is this. There is a covenant. Covenant is another word for promise. If you ever signed papers to buy your car, to get a credit card, to buy a home, whatever the case may be, or to get a loan, you signed a promissory note or a covenant. Now, more often than not, you only see it from your side. In other words, what you have to do to keep the covenant or the promise. God's covenant with us is based upon the blood of Christ. And therefore, when we enter into a walk with him, his covenant is based on his side, him keeping it. In other words, what we do on our side does not necessarily impact God's nature on the other side. God said, this is about me. I made the promise. I made the promise. And I'm going to keep my word. What's your takeaway this morning? Your takeaway is this. Consistency is God's nature. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. You can depend on God. you can depend on him. If you can't depend on nobody else, don't sweat it, don't worry. God is consistent. The Lord be with you today. May his face shine upon you, give you peace. Share the manna. Don't keep it to yourself. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more Morning Manna. Bye now.